Hi, my name is Noel, and I teach meditation as a universal practice which has rich fruits for individuals and society. In this video, we continue to explore the differences between doing and being. So, here goes. In the silence of meditation, we let go of the constant ruminations and distractions of the mind, even if only fleetingly. Of course, the paradox is that when we've let them go, even for a brief moment, we can't be aware of that, because that would mean we were still thinking. You see, when we let go of thought, we enter a state of consciousness deeper than ordinary self-consciousness, beyond ordinary self-consciousness. We step back from doing into being. Over time, we know this is so because we become aware of the traces it leaves behind, by the fruits that inevitably follow over time. We come to know about the depth of this encounter in a way that is beyond rational knowing and beyond clear description. Because it lies beyond doing, beyond thought, it is not possible to describe it in words. That's why we often say that meditation is a trans-rational, intuitive, heartfelt experience. Maggie Ross, she's the author of the book Silence, a User's Guide. She describes 3 layers of the mind when we enter stillness and silence. Firstly, there's a level of noise, but there are ways to get beyond the noise. And then we encounter a level of silence in which we participate as a witness. There's a sense of witnessing the silence. And then finally, there is a deeper level of silence where there is no witness. In other words, the 3rd level lies beyond self-consciousness. She describes this deepest level as the deep mind, and it is this which underpins our rational thinking mind. A second writer, Cynthia Bourgeault, who writes widely about contemplation, describes this final level as a state of objectless awareness. The quality of our doing is very much informed by the quality of our being. If we habitually enter into this deepest state of being, it shows itself in the quality of our doing. Maggie Ross argues that when we sit in silence, we're not doing anything, but we are being done to. We are being worked on by the silence, which ultimately changes us. She says that our engagement with deep silence leaves traces and marks of transfiguration, leaves those traces on the person who meditates, in the literal sense of changing the way we figure things out. That's why she talks about transfiguration rather than transformation. And Cynthia Bourgeault tells us that our own subjective experience of meditation may be that nothing happened, except for the more or less continuous motion of letting go of thoughts. But in the depth of your being, she says, plenty has been going on, and things are quietly but firmly being rearranged. And that inner awakening is the real business of meditation. Now, it may take some time before we feel that for ourselves, but once we get a taste of it, even for a moment, we then know it to be true for ourselves. Not because somebody told us, but because we have experienced it. While our true state may be pure being, we are continually pulled by our ego into a state where doing is primary. The more stressed the environment, the more we get pulled out of balance and into this state where doing is primary. We become less aware, more anxious, and have a sense of isolation. isolation from ourselves, our colleagues, and the wider world. However, what we really need most in those situations, both for ourselves and those for whom we care, what we really need most is the state of being, where we can be peaceful and fully connected with others, fully aware. Being comes before doing. The quality of our being determines the quality of our doing. This is what silence teaches us. Now, here I come to a very important point. We don't do meditation, even though we may use that expression sometimes. Meditation is not something we do. So we must let go of doing when we sit for meditation and simply be. Just as we cannot think our way beyond thought, neither can we arrive at this experience of being through doing, through thinking or reading. We arrive there through silence and stillness. To arrive there, we must take a step back from doing and leave ourselves open to being. We must hold on to the intention to enter being, but let go of all effort. Let go of all doing. All of the wisdom traditions of the world tell us that stillness represents our path back into being. In modern life, we think of stillness and silence as a passive state, as something that's not working, or as pressing the pause button, putting things on hold. We don't tend to think of stillness as a transformative state, but that is what it is. As the silence deepens, you will come to experience its inner, inherent depth and richness. You will discover that silence is not a static state, but is deep down a very dynamic one, a receptive one. Silence is not about doing nothing. It's about doing nothing else, simply being. As you grow in meditation, you will discover for yourself that stillness is essential for living in a healthy and balanced state. The persistent return of thought in meditation teaches us how we keep labeling and judging ourselves and one another. But you will also discover that you can simply be outside of all of the labels of mother, father, son, daughter, teacher, friend, that none of these things define us. Our doing does not define us. Our doing is not who we are. The teacher Eckhart Tolle reminds us that our essential nature is not something. It is neither content nor form. He says it is easier to say what it is not, and then you are left with what it is, which cannot be described. Although it cannot be described in words and cannot be named, it can be known. Just it can't be known conceptually, because every concept requires to be named. It can be known easily and simply in the silent space of stillness, which is in everyone underneath the mental noise. No matter how heavy or turbulent the mental or emotional noise may be. No matter how heavy the egoic sense of self, in every single person, as their essential nature, is the stillness of pure consciousness. Your essential nature, your essence, is not separate from the essence of the universe. Although these are just words, they point to an essential truth without being able to encapsulate it. These pointers cannot explain the truth, they're just pointers. And of course, the analysis of pointers is pointless. There's the saying, when the wise man points to the moon, the fool sees only the finger. There is no point in analyzing the finger. It's simply pointing at the moon. If you cannot see beyond the finger to what it's pointing at, no amount of analysis of the finger is going to help. But you see, the egoic mind likes to have content, so it wants to examine the pointer. When we speak at the level of being, we have to allow the pointer to work in us, to awaken us to a different kind of truth, and not insist for an explanation. We will explore the inadequacy of language to speak about meditation, to speak about being in later videos. For now, remember that the quality of our doing depends on the quality of our being, and that meditation mysteriously has the capacity to root our doing in our being. It does so by heightening our awareness, our consciousness of who we are at the deepest level of our being. And now, to ensure that your doing is informed by your being, I invite you to sit in stillness and silence for the next 10 minutes, and to try to set aside 10 minutes each day for meditation.